Hi guys, welcome back to Manga Mono. The anime begins with a boy named Yuji. He's helping his adoptive family run their candy apple stall.
作戦通りよ。売り上げ1位はもらったわ。
そう。
Before things get hectic, Yuji has a strategy meeting with his mom, Mira, and his sisters, Una and Nina. Although the entire thing was Yuji's suggestion, he only suggested participating because Mira and Una wanted to win the prize, which was a hot spring trip. As for their strategy, they let Mira stand in front of the stall and eat their candy apple.
手についちゃった。
確かにこれなら売れるだろうな。
They're hoping that her alluring beauty and highly cultured way of eating candy apples would attract more people. The strategy worked much better than they expected, and now there's a huge crowd of cultured people in front of the stall.
すいません。
ユージ？
おい、なんだよ、見えないぞ。危ないんでそんなに近づかないでください。こんくらい大丈夫だろ。何かあってからでは遅いんで。
As the crowd grows increasingly restless while watching Mira eat their apple candy, Yuji feels concerned that things may get out of hand soon. Eventually, he can no longer hold back and steps in to protect Mira from the restless crowd. Of course, the crowd complains because Yuji is now blocking their wonderful view. He tries to reason with them, saying that if he doesn't step in, it will be too late if things suddenly get out of hand. While he does that, his sisters complain that if he was against the plan from the start, he should have just said so. Annoyed by what's happening, the girls tell their mom to take a break. Mira happily goes on a break and drags Yuji with him. They go to a secluded area in a nearby forest where Mira pulls out Yuji's candy cane to inspect its condition. Since she noticed he was a little down, Mira asks Yuji if something was wrong.
何か元気なかったみたいだけど、どうしたの？
そんなことないですよ。
She also shows him her apple pie, which is already overflowing with its caramelized juices, hinting that she knows he was jealous of what was happening earlier. Of course, Yuji can't say that he was jealous when men were flocking to Mira earlier, and that he only wants her for himself. So, he instead says that he was only worried about her, especially since she looked like she was struggling earlier. Mira sees through his lies immediately and tells him that since he isn't telling the truth, she'll ask his candy cane instead because it seems more honest. Realizing it might be trouble if he lets Mira have what she wants, Yuji tries to take his candy cane away. Unfortunately for him, Mira doesn't let it get away and devours it entirely. After a while, Yuji's candy cane couldn't stand Mira's candy-eating skills, and it ends up releasing all of its sticky filling. When they return to their stall, the girls happily tell them they've won first place. As they celebrate, Yuji hints at Mira that he hasn't had enough culture yet. So, in response, Mira tells him that they'll pick up where they left off when they return home later that night.
取りました。
よかったわね。
はい。でも俺まだ。
しょうがないよ。じゃあ続きは帰ってからね。
A few days later, Yuji hears a loud crashing sound coming from their kitchen. He rushes to check what happened and finds Mira on the floor covered with chocolate. It seems she slipped and fell while trying to bake chocolates for Valentine's Day. Since she's only wearing an apron, Yuji somehow wonders if Mira is only using the accident as an excuse to make the culture rise within him. Then Mira asks him to help her clean the mess up, and he happily obliges. However, instead of wiping the chocolate off, Yuji opts to eat everything instead, and that's because he strictly follows a zero-waste lifestyle. Mira is caught off guard, and she slowly feels her composure drain away. Not long after that, Yuji finds himself in front of Mira's warm apple pie, and since he's already eating dessert, he thinks he might as well devour it too. So he goes on to eat her apple pie, which immediately throws whatever composure Mira had left out of the window. As Yuji continues to devour her apple pie, Mira's legs tremble as her mind slowly but surely verges on the edge of blacking out. Yuji notices this and asks her if having her apple pie devoured is actually one of her weaknesses. Of course, as Yuji continues to finish cleaning the chocolate mess and eating her warm apple pie, Mira eventually loses control and can no longer hold herself back from stepping on Legos. When they're done, Yuji apologizes to her for failing to restrain himself after misunderstanding the situation. Mira explains to him that the chocolate was supposed to be for everybody. She then tells her that he already consumed his portion, so he won't be getting a piece anymore. She then lets out a pout as Yuji complains about no longer having a portion of Valentine's Day chocolates. Of course, what he doesn't know is that Mira is actually hiding the one she made for him ahead of time. When Yuji returns home from school one evening, he is surprised to see Mira greet him while wearing a maid outfit. Of course, he tries to ask what's going on, but Mira immediately hits him with a legendary question of which one he wants first: a meal, a bath, or her cake. Like any respectable man of culture, Yuji immediately stops holding back and goes for the third option. Although it might have been what she was expecting him to do in the first place, Mira is still surprised at the voracious thirst that suddenly took over Yuji. Yuji pounces on Mira and grabs a hold of her massive twin personalities. Mira notices that he's being a little too fierce, so she tells him to calm down. She then exposes her twin personalities to him in all their glory, and he ends up holding them dearly, too dearly in fact. After a while, Mira feels she isn't portraying the role of a maid properly, because it feels like Yuji is the one working hard and not her. So, she changes the situation by sandwiching Yuji's candy cane between her twin personalities, immediately making him feel like his back is about to give. Then, Yuji accidentally pokes Mira's twin personalities with his candy cane, making her go weak. Yuji notices this and takes advantage of the situation. Mira begs him to stop because if he doesn't, she can't bear such a rewarding experience. However, Yuji doesn't hear her pleas and continues to fiercely poke her twin personalities with his candy cane. Eventually, Mira gets overwhelmed and can't stop herself from stepping on Legos and having her apple pie overflow with its caramelized juices. As Mira gasps for air, Yuji asks her if she's alright, but she doesn't answer at all. Then, all of a sudden, she turns the table on Yuji and takes the lead. Mira puts him in a humiliating position and then proceeds with the fierce extraction process of his candy cane's sticky filling. She tells him it'll be a lesson for him because he doesn't listen. Given how skilled Mira is when it comes to extracting candy cane fillings, it doesn't take long for Yuji to lose control and scatter his candy cane's sticky filling all over the place. While he gasps for air after the overwhelmingly rewarding experience, Yuji apologizes to Mira. Of course, she accepts his apology and, while fiddling with his weakened candy cane, tells him he should learn to practice self-control next time. As they rest, Yuji complains that his back gave out, and Mira blames it on his lack of self-control again. Yuji then says he was surprised that Mira had such clothes. She reveals that it is part of her collection, which she had because of a hobby. Yuji tells her to show him more of her collection. Mira says if he becomes a good boy, she might consider showing him the rest of it. On another morning, Yuji finds himself helping Mira with her exercise routine. During that time, he tells her she should be good enough without needing to diet. However, she says she can't, because if she's too careless, she'll gain fat quickly. Yuji is actually concerned that if Mira goes on a diet to lose fat, her twin personalities might also shrink, and of course Mira picks up on it. She then shows him her twin personalities, and says he doesn't have to worry because she doesn't lose fat in that area easily. After that, Yuji continues to help Mira with her exercises, and throughout that time, her cultural poses and noises make things difficult for him. He finds himself wondering how much longer he could hold himself back. However, he doesn't know that Mira is actually doing all of it on purpose to mess with him. In an attempt to stay away from trouble, Yuji suggests Mira should do squats instead. However, she says they should do something together instead. So, Yuji says he'll just spot her instead. Unfortunately for him, the spotting Mira had in mind was having him lie down and watch her squat directly above his head. As Mira performs her squat, Yuji desperately tries to hold his intrusive thoughts at bay. However, as if fate willed it, the cover of Mira's apple pie accidentally rips apart, and it falls directly into Yuji's mouth. After that, Mira's apple pie gravitates toward Yuji's candy cane. Yuji tells Mira to continue with her exercise by holding the pose she's doing. Although she tries, she loses her composure due to the culture that has taken over her head. She tells Yuji that she can no longer take it and wants him to appreciate her already. Of course, given the pent-up culture that has been boiling inside him for a while, now Yuji could no longer hold back as well. So, he goes on to appreciate Mira. At first, Yuji just stays still, so Mira takes the lead. Yuji calls her out for it, and she says it's because she can no longer hold back. Eventually, she scolds Yuji for being lazy, so he goes to work and appreciates her fiercely. During that time, Yuji can't help but point out the sloppy cultured face that Mira is unconsciously making. He asks her if she wants to be appreciated that badly, and she tells him yes. Eventually, when the time is right, Yuji releases all of his candy cane's fillings into Mira's warm apple pie, making her blank out and gasp for air. After that, Mira changes to new spats and gets ready to exercise again. Yuji is confused and asks if she is still going to continue exercising after what happened. To his surprise, Mira tells him it's his turn to exercise. She explains that they agreed earlier that they would both commit to healthy living. Still confused, Yuji says he thought he was only going to help her out. However, Mira says that's not the case and that she'll be training him this time, just like how he did earlier. Yuji tries to bail, but Mira, who lets out a sly smile, doesn't let him. And guys, please in the end, don't forget to support us with a like for the video and algorithms say you will like this videos.